This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of July 8th, 2024. And I'm sorry to disappoint everybody with the sound of my voice, but I am not the lovely Judy. I want to thank her for filling in for me last week. If you listened to last week's pod, it was a great trip report. And we were all going to come in together. But Judy, if you listened to the very end, Judy had a delayed flight home overnight. And I could only record on Sunday because I was on vacation last week. And I think they did a better job with me hosting, I guess, while we ask questions. So, again, thanks to Judy for filling in. And if you haven't caught the show, please go and check it out. It was a really good trip report. It's always nice to get, for me, I enjoyed it because here is a vacation that the man on the left side of the screen, our very own Phil, did not go on to Disney World.
I know.
So you could see the seething jealousy coming up from him as he had to walk through his wife's trip report. That's probably the first time you got a chance to sit down and talk about it because she was home for less than 24 hours by the time you started recording.
About 24 hours or so. Yeah.
So
obviously we hit that. I knew some. We were talking while she was gone, so I knew some of it.
Right.
There was something she said. I was like, "Oh, I didn't know you did that." Okay.
So it was awesome to kind of get Phil was helping out with the Genie Pluses and stuff like that, as he normally does. But it was interesting to have somebody else in that fit. We've heard so many trip reports from you, Phil, that it was interesting to get another person in your family's point of view of the trip, but also one that they, steered, right? They were, were there. So I like the difference. So definitely check that out. It was an awesome little video. But not a little video. It was an hour and 15 minutes long. So it was good. It was good. It was well worth it. And I do appreciate, here I'm talking longer and longer before we start the show, but I did appreciate where you were like, we don't need the minute by minute to let us know some highlights. And the highlights just kept getting longer and longer. So
I even told Judy before we started, I was like, we'll go through the first 2 days quick because I want to get to the Tiana day. And then it was 40 minutes into it.
Nope. I was like, when is Tiana's going to start? Let's go. But it was really cool. So that being said, we've got a lot to talk about, right? This show, we've got a couple cool topics that we want to go over. I had a extremely brief back and forth with Testa with a theory about crowd numbers and stuff like that. It is not a very good theory that you can't measure it, but we're going to try. Yeah. And we got that. And then some rumors and stuff like that. And then not only that, we're going to rank quick service locations at Hollywood Studios because, we've been ranking a lot of things lately, and I want to do all the quick service meals. And we're not going to rank, 30-something quick service, park quick service. So we're going to do park by park each week, make things a little bit easier. And then we got DVC and Cambridge where we ranked Pixar movies, or Disney and Pixar movies from 2000. So, Phil, without me rambling on, the first topic was yours. And I'll let you start it.
Yeah, so this topic came up because Ryan W. did a really good trip report. It was 11 days at Disney with his, I forget if it's his parents or his wife's parents, but it's like 3 generations and still has young kids, so they're still doing all the character meals and stuff like that. And it was really interesting that it made me kind of miss those days, or made me think did I not take advantage of those times when, say, my kids were really small and they were really into character meals, or, now I'm thinking my parent, my mom and my wife's parents are getting older and they're not really able to do a Disney trip anymore, just physically. So we're not really able to have those 3 generation trips anymore. So it kind of made me, I don't know if nostalgic or whatever it is. I'm calling it Disney Laments. So it's the things that it's not like I didn't get to do them or that I regret doing something differently. It's just, I'm kind of wishing maybe I took more advantage of it back in the day. Also some of the things that are just changing in the parks. There was some review. We're seeing a lot of food changing, the waffles, the chicken waffles at Sleepy Hollows and stuff like that. are there things that are no longer around that I'm like, man, I wish I got that more often. Like, I really like that. Like things like that. There's just a whole lot of things that have changed over the years with the parks, but also with me. And it made me kind of think of like, if I could go back in time and like tell Phil from 10 years ago, like, no, do this. Like, don't worry about that. Like, spend a little bit extra money, take advantage of it now. Cause in the future, you'll wish you would have. So,
I mean, we all go through our Disney phases, and
yeah.
I think it's also to look back on it. So what were some of your Disney laments, I guess?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned the two of them. One was like not doing more character meals. I always like we didn't do the dining plan too often. When we did it, we'd hit a couple character meals, but I always they had bad reputations as like not great food and stuff like that. But my kids, when we went, we did like the Disney Junior one and stuff like that. They always liked the characters, and now my kids, they're not as into meeting characters. I know when I went down with my son, like I was like, oh, do you want to go meet Pluto? No. Do you want to meet this? No. Do you want like they're not into characters now. Even at the Halloween party, I kind of almost had to like beg them to do one character meet and stuff.
Well, let me ask you this. I want to interview you on each one of these points. So not doing character meals. Obviously, we did a lot of character meals because every time we went down pre-COVID was on a dining plan, right? So we did character meals like every single day.
Yeah.
What makes you miss them? Is it like you or not doing? Is it like the fact that maybe your kids are growing up, they're not as important anymore? Is it something like I wish I had certain memories?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's just looking back, they are positive memories from the ones we did. And then now they're just not as into the character meets. And it's just not that you can't have good character meets as you get older, but it's just not the same as when you have a 5-year-old girl meeting a princess and stuff like that. So while we did some of them, I kind of wish, we bit the bullet and either got the dining plan more often to cover it or just paid for it. Obviously also they cost a lot more than they used to.
Ridiculously more, yeah.
So it's just harder to do, especially now that all my kids are Disney adults. It makes it that much harder to do any sort of buffet and prefix meal. So it's just, they're almost not on the table now. No pun intended for doing a character meal.
I
now.
mean, like, I'm like 3 years behind you, like in all your kids' ages, right? And I could tell you because we're phasing out of the character meals. Our last time we went, we didn't do any. In 23 and 22, we did a few like out of pocket, and that hurt. But I could say after doing so many of them, and then bringing my kids, like my youngest daughter who was 6 and who hadn't gone, really did a character meal since she was 2, maybe because of COVID. The specialness, I guess, uniqueness of it wasn't really there. She was like super happy to see them, but it wasn't like it was back in 2019 when we were at peak character meal time frame. So, I mean, as much as you think you're missing it, granted, I have those memories and maybe you wish you did, but like I'm looking forward to transitioning out of those a little bit. But I always have a soft spot in my heart for those.
Yep. The next one was, I mentioned kind of the 3 generations and kind of just wishing, we did do several trips with Judy's parents. But we never did any with my mom, with the kids. We did the Disney cruise was with my mom, but that's it. Like, so, and she's just, she's in her 80s now and just like, there's no way she could handle the heat and just the travel and stuff like that. So maybe it's even more than trips with the grandparents. Just like, I wish I did maybe with my mom. My dad passed away before any of my kids were born, so that's not even an option. But I guess I'm maybe just getting jealous of the trip report Ryan had with his parents. And I know, when Matt Pato talks about his trips, like he comes down with either his mother-in-law or his parents and stuff like that. And like I said, I think I wish there was a way I could have had more multi-generational trips. And
I mean,
I guess now I just got to wait till my kids have kids, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I just got done with a multi-generational vacation. Granted, mine was to a RV park with cabins. It was like pools and cabins, very inexpensive, and just barbecued and hung out every day. It was absolutely wonderful. My first adult Disney trip was with my sister and her family, my family, where I only had my son was 8 months old at the time, so we only had 2 kids, and my mother came down with us. So our first Disney trip had my mother, not my father. He's not big into walking around. He can't walk very well. And then our family went with the 3 kids and my mother in 2019, and we had future trips planned, but they got canceled because of the pandemic. But then we had a huge family one where my dad was going, my mom was going, and my sister and her family and ours. And we backed out of that because that was in February of 22, and our youngest wasn't vaccinated yet. So we were like, no, we don't want to go. My parents did. So now we're like, okay, so we've been twice since then. And now our next trip in next year, we're definitely taking our mother or my mom with me. And but my dad doesn't want to go because he's like, it's too much, it's too expensive, whatever. And I'm like, maybe we can convince him because you have the room already. We're getting 2 rooms. You have the room. It's just now another probably $1,500 food and tickets, that type of thing. So I get it. And I think to me right now, I'm making that a priority and trying to drag my mom out there and for as long as she can get out there. And she's in very, very good health too. So now I get it. It's definitely worthy of a lament.
Yeah. And then the last 2 are kind of go together, but it's just more around the holiday season. We didn't do any of the Halloween parties or the Christmas party until we did the one last year. We just see what the prices are going to now versus when they were cheaper. I see a lot of people having all these great memories of, people were going on about the dream lights on the castle. Like we never saw that. We never saw the Osborne lights in Hollywood studios and stuff like that. So, it's just, and now it's even harder, now that the kids are getting older, that's just a tough time of year to get, we can't really take them out of school and stuff like that. It's tough for me to get away from work in that time of year. So it's just harder and harder as time goes by to get down there during the holidays. So I kind of wish when maybe it was a little easier, we did that a little more.
Yeah. I really enjoyed going down the last 2 years in the holidays. I won't be going back again during the holidays, or at least for quite some time. I know you're maybe lamenting about the parties and the memories people have from them. I'm like one and done with the parties, I think. Unless I go down with the wife for an adult only vacation and it's just the 2 of us. I'm not paying as much as I thought that $1,000 for the family was, I think, worth it. As crazy as it sounds, it was worth it. Because it was the best day of our whole vacation going to that Christmas party. I don't think that should be a lament because there's always going to be a party. There's always going to be something you're going to have a memory of. There's the dream lights or the Osborne lights. I think people kind of overplay them a little bit, even though they might be a favorite. I don't think it's something like, I can't believe I never saw that. Because there's a lot of things with Disney World like in the last 50 years that you never have again. And you got built new
obviously
memories.
you can never do everything and stuff like that.
I know the FOMO is strong.
Yeah, it's a little bit of FOMO, and just like I said, it's getting it's harder. Like we almost can't even consider it nowadays. So another thing for in the future once the kids are older and stuff like that, and maybe we could go down that. But
yep, no, I hear you. Mine are kind of simple. Like I wish I was a Disney fan earlier. Mostly because then there wasn't really much time for my wife and I to go on Disney trips, even if we were adult Disney fans before we had kids, because we got engaged a year later, married a year later, bought a house a year later, and then had our first, our daughter was born a year later. So we between 2009 and 2013, we had several major life events that cost lots of money and time. So there would have been much time for a lot of travel at that moment. But I would have liked to have some chances to go as a couple and then go as a family. But here we are as an adult. And it's not that big of a deal, but it is what it is. Another one is just basically I wish I could go back to the 80s and buy into Microsoft when it was really cheap type of thing. But it's I wish I was a DVC. I bought it to DVC when my sister did. My sister bought DVC when she was, I think 22, 23 years old at the time with her husband. That would have been probably early 2000s. I'm trying to think somewhere in that time frame, somewhere between 2022 or 2002 and 2005, somewhere in that time frame. Animal Kingdom
20 years ago. Yeah.
And, I'm just thinking how cheap they bought it for, even with inflation. I'm just at the time I called her freaking nuts for buying Disney, DVC. What are you thinking? What is this? And of course, here I am years later, I guess she was right. Well,
that's what makes that hard, right? Because you have to admit your sister was right. So.
Oh, well, of course, but I didn't get it, right? Because I wasn't a Disney adult at the time. I did not get it. Some of my laments are trips in there's some years that we didn't go in 2016 and 2018. We tried to go in 2016. We had a trip that we canceled because we bought a house. So we can't really go to Disney and buy a house at the same time. In 2018, we didn't go because my wife was very much pregnant and my daughter was born. So we weren't doing another 8-month-old at Disney. We learned the first time. So granted, it's not really a lament, but I wish I could have gone during those years. But other things took precedence. So I mean, it's not like a lament, but like these are years of like peak, at least current day peak park is basically 2015 to 2019. I think the parks were at its peak until they get back to that at some point. And I I lament that we could have gone more often. Not that we actually could have financially at that time or physically, but there are spaces in time where maybe we could have done something. I do regret, well, if the biggest thing I have to complain about from the pandemic is not being able to go to Disney in 2020, because
I know.
That's a good thing. So I'm not really lamenting this at all. But when my daughter was 3 years old and was like the last time we were able to go to Disney World for free with her. So I was like, it was the last year. Darn you, pandemic. But again, I'll take that if no worse for the wear through the pandemic on that one. And all of these things, I want to summarize all of these things by saying that we mentioned a couple months ago, six weeks ago, something like that Tom Bricker's like going through this evolution right now, because him and his wife have been traveling doing Disney for years and years now, and then all of a sudden they're seeing everything through a new lens as parents. And I think we said this before. It's like it's really fun seeing somebody kind of seeing it through a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't think, we talk about you are now transitioning from little kids to Disney adults in the teenage years. And that's a whole nother phase. And me almost getting to that point, right? I think there's a time period where your kids are just basically, they're allowed to go to the parks by themselves or split up, or you could do different things. So I think it's like a different type of thing. And my oldest is 11, and I'm really looking forward to her being able to be like my young Padawan, like knowing how to play in the parks and how to do things. So I'm curious to see if all my teachings kind of rubbed off. So I think that's like the next phase. That's where you're in, right? You're like your kids can navigate the parks. And then I don't think the next true phase is when you're a grandparent and you're seeing it all over again through a, you don't have to push the carriage anymore. You can just kind of walk and jump in a little bit here and there. So I like the idea of Disney phases. Maybe we talked too much about it today, but I think the cycle of life of Disney fandom is really an interesting talking point, because we're all going through it, right? And I know everybody on Discord is like, there's a lot of people at different stages. There's folks that are going solo. There's folks that are going with their parents because they're younger. There's grandparents. There's parents and everything else like that. So I love that perspective and when we share our stories.
Yeah. So my lesson, at least take away from thinking about this, is obviously don't go into debt or anything like that to do this. But if it's something you're kind of on the fence about doing, or like, oh, I don't know if we could do the party this year, we'll do it sometime in the future. Like, don't say, oh, we'll get to it. Like, like if you have the opportunity to do something kind of different or unique or whatever, take advantage of it, do it. I don't think you'll probably much more likely regret or lament the things you don't do versus the things you do. So
no, I'm 100% book often and book early, because it's always going to be cheaper that way.
Yep. The next thing that I wanted to bring up that a lot of people are talking about, probably more on Twitter, we had a little bit of it on Discord, and actually I think it led to the creation of it. We now have a universal channel on our Discord, kind of all because of Epic Universe. People are starting to, there's starting to get some information about how it's going to be. And so people want to start planning and that sort of thing. And kind of that first information that's leaked out is that some information came out to travel agents and third-party ticket vendors that, at least for the advanced planning element, for people who want to like make sure they're getting in on opening day or, kind of the early parts of Epic Universe, they're going to be selling ticket packages that will only include 1 day. Whatever package you get, it'll only have 1 day for Epic Universe. So if you buy a 3-day ticket,
it's minimum 3 though, right?
I think it's minimum 3, maximum 14 days. But no matter whatever you get in there, you only get 1 day at Epic Universe. So there's a lot of people complaining about that. The big time Universal fans that maybe have annual passes and stuff like that, that's saying, why do I have to buy a 3-day pass just to get into when I really only care about getting into the one park? My thought is, I think there's a lot of people probably like me or similar that don't go to Universal all the time, but are excited about Epic Universe. And if I'm going down to Universal, I'm going to do the other parks anyway. So I don't see this as a huge deal.
I think it's a big deal.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, it's also interesting to see how it changes. Both if you're interested in Universal in general, if you're not following Alicia Stella, please do. She had a lot of great information, but she also shared, look, this is just what the advanced planning is going to be. There will be single day tickets available at some point. There will be annual pass tickets available at some point. It's just, if you want to be there like kind of opening week or whatever like that, you're going to kind of have to probably suck it up and say, I'm buying a really expensive single day ticket or whatever. So don't think like it's going to be this way forever. But it is like, if as you're starting to plan for it, and if you're like, oh yeah, I want to be there when it opens, this is the way you're going to have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, from a business point of view, I'm really curious to see how well this works, right? Because, I think the people that go to Universal go anyway. And so this is just going to be, they're going to buy this ticket anyway, because they usually probably buy like a 3-day ticket, right? At this point. Or if they buy a 2-day ticket and that's all they buy, 3 days is not much of a stretch because it's 3 parks, right? Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Universal wants to capture Disney guests, right?
Yep.
That is their main goal at this. So you might get, if let's say you just offered normal tickets, whatever, and this is probably what's going to happen 4 months after the park opens anyway. But if this doesn't, if they still try to trap you into a multi-day ticket type of thing to get in there, you have to tell a Disney family that maybe they typically do 4 or 5 days in the parks. You now have to either pay a very expensive ticket for 1 day for Epic Universe, or you have to get rid of at least 2 days or 3 days, Disney days, to go to Universal. And I don't think you're going to win that argument with Disney folks. So one of my suggestions would be, like, if I were at Universal at this point, I would try to capture Disney people, but know that the Disney guest is probably not going to want to do 3 days at Universal. I'm not going to try to force them, but I think they have to come to the fact that most people want to splash 1 or 2 days at Universal. Why not try, instead of just trying to capture a ticket dollar, why not try to capture hotel money, right? So supposedly Universal has better hotels on average, right? And a lot of people say that. Why not say, stay at a Universal resort, buy our 3 ticket package, and we'll drive you to Disney parks and offer like Disney transportation. Yeah, you might want to say, why would you want to send them to the enemy, right? Or whatever, their competition. But you're like, look, they're going to do it anyway, right? That's why not just completely buy into it and make them love your hotels, get a taste of Universal Park. Let's say like if you book 4 nights at a Universal hotel, we will give you can buy a single ticket to Epic Universe, and we'll drive you to the Disney parks if you want to. This way, you get a taste of Disney Universal hotels, you get a taste of the Universal parks. You can still do your Disney vacation, but maybe next time that you come down for a full Universal trip and not just a Disney and Universal trip, and then you capture future dollars, because that's what it's all about, right? It's all those return guests. So that's the way I would do it. But probably after 2 months, you could probably just buy a ticket.
Yeah, I think
Epic Universe.
It'll be interesting to see how long this lasts. I do also think there will be some opportunities for if you stay on site, especially if you're staying at the new hotel, the Helios one that's like in Epic Universe. I suspect there'll be special offers, and maybe if you stay there, you can get into Epic Universe and stuff like that. So there will definitely be other ways to get into the park, but it is an interesting discussion that's going on. And for Universal gets a lot of praise for kind of doing all the things different than Disney or whatever, and like I think they're getting some backlash, I guess, a little bit for this one. So
can you imagine if Disney did, like you said, if you want to go see Rise of the Resistance when it first opened, you need to buy like three park tickets just to see it, and everybody go freaking nuts over it.
Exactly.
It'd be hilarious, but like
so and I think just a lot of us maybe aren't as big into the Universal like online community, and from what I hear is like some of them can be very protective of Universal and stuff, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how things break down when not everything's perfect. And I also want to see what happens with those. One of the things that's great about the Universal hotels is they're reasonably priced compared to Disney ones.
Not anymore.
Is that going to be the case? When they start seeing this Helios hotel, the rooms are as much or more than the Grand Floridian. How are we going to think about that? But that's down the line. I think I'm just glad their information's getting out there. the more we
Mhm.
hear, the earlier the park's going to be open. They're testing all these rides and stuff. And I'm excited. We don't have our vacation plan for next year. There's a good chance it's going to involve going to Epic Universe. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, you're going in the summertime, so it'll
Yeah.
probably be open at least 4 months, 5 months, probably 4 months.
Yeah, 3 to 4 months, I would think. But before, especially if we go in August, it'd be like 4 or 5 months. By
Yep.
then.
So you might get lucky where you could just go because I mean, if I'm doing it, you're going down. Well, we could talk about this on another show because you have to go through your vacation this year.
I know
before
this
we
year.
start
First,
talking
we
about
start next year. Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the next topic because this is not a Universal show. So I'm not the only one that has this theory, but I've been thinking about this for some time. So we're if you go look at social media, you go look anywhere else about on Disney, it's very, very slow. It's the second year in a row that July 4th was extremely low crowds.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a variety of reasons for that. We don't need to really go into a lot of those right now, but one of the guesses are because there's not just one reason why. Right. It's not just the heat or just the cost or just whatever it is. There could be also an underlying reason why there's less people in the parks this year, and it could be something as innocent as what I call a cool down period for theme parks. So, if for those that don't play video games, cool down is a time that you must wait to repeat an action. So, like if you do Action A has a cooldown of, let's say, 10 seconds. So you can't do Action A again for 10 seconds. So board games have a lot of this type of stuff, that type of thing. So a vacation cooldown would be like if you are a person that goes once a year, your cooldown is 1 year. But if you're one of the types of family that goes every 3 years, your cooldown is 3 years. So while everybody for last pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, everybody had all their cooldowns set up, right? We go every year. We go every 2 years. And it was just every 2 years they go, right? And all of a sudden, there was a world event. The pandemic happened. Parks shut down. People were uncomfortable to travel. And a lot of people's cooldowns suddenly all got reset, right? So instead of going every single year, then all of a sudden, it's 2 years. So like if they could go 2021, maybe it was 2022, maybe it was 2023, the whole revenge travel sequence, everybody's cooldown was up, like, let's go to the parks. And that's why it was so jammed in 22 and 23. But because everybody went at the same time, then the parks potentially from a couple percentage points, 3%, 4%, I don't know how you measure it. And Phil did an excellent job trying to measure that, which we'll go over in a second. So think of it this way. Pre-pandemic, if one family went every even year and then another family went in every odd year, representing every 2 years. So the parks always had family A or family B going every single year because they all skipped years. But then the pandemic happened, their cooldowns reset, and now family A and family B are both going on even years, and nobody's going on an odd year, right? So there's going to be a reduction naturally because people go on their different cadence. Now, this is not the only reason, right? Disney prices are getting more and more expensive, so that's a huge factor in why some people aren't going. The heat is another huge factor in the summertime where people aren't going. There's no festivals at Epcot, which would be another reason why people aren't going. It could be no one wants to go to Disney World on 4th of July anymore because they always think it's going to be busy, which forces people not to go. So there's a million things, right? Yeah. So this is not like the only thing. So I shot an email to Len, and he thought it was a very interesting thing, and I wrote back another explanation, and then I said the response to Phil, and Phil all of a sudden comes up with a spreadsheet as he's want to do. So why don't you go over? I don't know how well this is going to come out on a audio medium.
Yeah, I think I'll talk a little more high level, and then I can tweet out the spreadsheet if you want to break down my math.
Let's go ahead.
But basically, what I was trying to do was I totally get what Jason was saying about you have people are on their cycle, and then the COVID years disturbed their cycle, right? And it kind of had to reset. So if you were going every 2 to 3 years, now you had nobody that would have gone in those years would have been able to go, and now everybody wants to go when they can start going. But I didn't know what percentage of people fall into each of those categories to kind of figure out how impactful that would be if now in the second year afterwards there's nobody's going because they all went the year before. I did some research, and Touring Plans had a couple information. In one article, they said Disney told them that they operate on the average guest, so not like kind of the Uber fan and that sort of thing, but the average guest goes every 2 to 4 years. And then they also did a survey. Now, keep in mind, this is people that are going to fill out a survey for touring plans, so they might be a little biased. But they had, in 2017, they had 1,390 participants went to that. And it said 20% of them said they go more than once a year. So maybe they're locals or they just travel more than once. 31% say they visit every year. 41%, so the biggest bucket, say they go every 2 to 4 years. So that kind of ties with what Disney was saying. And then 8% say they go every 5+ years. So what I tried to do was to set up a bit of a table that sort of had these sort of running years and saying, okay, the certain percentage that say they go every 2 years, whatever. And I just evenly broke down the percent, that 41% for 2, 3, and 4 years. Half of that portion of the total would go in year A, half would go in year B, and it would cycle like that. So you'd always have the same amount of the 2-year people in the park. Same with the 3 years, except obviously 3 years people, but it would take 3 years. I then said, okay, nobody went in 20. I kind of made it into whole years just to make things a little easier. Mm-hmm. I said nobody went in 20 or 21. They start coming back in 22. And that's sort of the revenge travel year where more people are now going, even though before they would have been off cycle. They're resetting their cycle. Mm-hmm. Now we're still playing catch up because we're not back. People are not back on their normal cycle because it was interrupted due to COVID and that sort of thing. So again, I'll tweet out the spreadsheet if you want to see it with the numbers, but my best estimate is thinking that we haven't caught up. So we're still short some of the people that normally would go every 3 years because they went in 2022. Same with some of the 2024 people and that sort of thing, or the every 4-year people or the every 5-year people. So my best estimate is we're about 8.6% lower than would have been typical just from this cycling, because we're still catching up on the every 3 years, every 4 years, every 5 years people. So basically what I'm trying to say was, like Jason said, there's a million other factors. But if we said, okay, the parks were the exact same as they were in 2019 as far as people and as a part of their vacationing patterns and how they think about mm-hmm. Disney and all that sort of things, we're just, the only thing is that we're now we reset the cycles. We would be, just that alone, the parks would be 8% lower than they are. Obviously add in everything else and it's, there's pluses and minuses and stuff like that, but it's probably a bigger impact. And then I said, an average day in 2019 Magic Kingdom had 57,000 people. 8.6% of that is 4,900 people. So almost 5,000 people fewer in the park just from being off cycle. And just as an example, Peter Pan has an hourly capacity of 800 guests. So this represents like 6 hours of operating Peter Pan every day. Like that's how many mm-hmm. people are not in the parks just from this one factor.
I really like this, and I think we could dial it. I mean, if we really wanted to go deep into this, we can dial it down. I don't know if it's worth it, but it's like it's a cool thought experiment. And I appreciate you finding the data while I was sitting around in a cabin with very little internet access for the last week. But I mean, like this just goes to show that you can go and look at the trolls on the internet. Oh, no one's going because it's woke. Oh, it's people are laughing at people. Like some people say, I don't go in the summer anymore because of the heat. And people say, oh, it's always hot in Florida. Of course, people still go. And there's a lot of these different things, but it could be something as innocuous as like people just aren't going because they went 2 years ago. And this is normally they would have gone this year, but because they went 2 years ago, they're waiting till next year to go down.
Exactly
like that. And I don't buy for an instant that the average park goer is waiting for Epic Universe because I don't think the average park goer even knows Epic Universe is coming next year, other than I'll check it out whenever it comes out. And only the Uber park fans are really have that like circled on the calendar at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's probably having some impact, but I don't think it's a huge impact.
No,
also weighing on it is like there's not a ton new at Disney. It's not like mm-hmm. they've opened up a Galaxy's Edge and stuff like that, so it's hard. There's not enough to get people to change their cycle, right? To come now and stuff like that. So
yeah, there's no incentive. Absolutely. No, I'm with you on that one. Okay. So
one last thing I did just want to mention that is Disney touring tourist blog. Tom Brecker put out a good article about crowds because they had their kind of crowd calendars and stuff like that. One thing to keep in mind was whatever your starting point of like when the last time you went or what's in your frame of mind for crowds will impact your view of crowds now. And the example he said was, you don't even have to go back that far, like 2015, 2016, what's a 1 out of 10 now, even now in 2024, would have been like a 5 out of 10 then. He's like, if you go back to like 2002 or something like that, every day would have been what was a 10 out of 10 then. So it's like, yeah, they're not as crowded as they were during the revenge year or even 2019, which was kind of the peak of everything. So yeah, they feel less crowded. They're still packed compared to the vast majority of Walt Disney World's livelihood. So
I mean,
let's not like. It also feels weird that people are complaining that the parks are less crowded.
The parks are not failing right now.
Yeah, well, that too. But I'm like, as someone traveling this summer, I wouldn't mind if there are fewer people in the parks. So.
I mean, like, I think a lot of people still have the reference point of like right before the pandemic on what crowded is.
Yeah,
that was overcrowded, right? Like,
exactly.
That was basically the parks were busting at their seams, and the Disney company was, failing at delivering additional capacity, which is what we hopefully will see in the next 9 years or so. So
and hopefully
we'll be talking about that.
I was going to say we hear a lot about that in the next about 4 weeks from now, right?
Yeah,
D20.
exactly. So no, that's an extremely good point, and I think it's a good topic to have every once in a while to kind of bring numbers in context. What is actually crowded and what is like obscenely crowded, right? So I think that's all good. Okay, so I mentioned at the top of the show we're going to play a game. I've wanted to rank all the quick service locations. And instead of just, I think I counted roughly about 30 of them a couple of weeks ago. I was talking, I was like, how many quick service locations are there just in the parks? This is only parks. There's about 30 of them, give or take. And then, you nicely put together, let's split these up so we're not doing like a million of them in a show trying to jam them. So we're going to do park by park. And I think we've got how many? We've got about what? A dozen or so?
Yeah, I think there's 11 for Hollywood Studios.
So we're going to do Hollywood Studios today. We're going to rank all of them. Obviously, I don't think either of us have been to every single one of them. I've been to a lot of them, and I've heard at least enough about others to make comments on. So I think that's fair. And Phil, what are the categories that we decided to rate these on?
Sure. So we are ranking them on menu. So every aspect of it is it a big menu, small menu, creative, boring, that sort of thing. The quality of the food being served there, the value. So what are you getting for what you're spending, the theming of it, and then kind of a general category for vibe, which could be, does it have a unique location? Does it have kind of like a nice area for sitting down and kind of chilling out? Like what do you feel like positive or negative just kind of being in the space?
Yep.
So it's a little different than theming, because something could be really well themed, but you're like, but I don't want to spend a minute in there because it's chaos, or whatever it is, like that type of a thing.
Yep.
So, and everything will be 1 out of 5. So maximum value is 25.
So like perfect example would be like the theming, like when Be Our Guest was a quick service location for lunch. The theming was, would have been a 5, but the vibe is probably a 1 or a 2 because it was a giant cafeteria, super loud and crowded, right? So that's the kind of way I kind of vision the differential. Yep. So why don't you kick us off here, Phil?
Sure. So the first location is ABC Commissary, which is located kind of in the middle of the park, sort of if you take that side street heading kind of towards Toy Story Land and stuff like that. The idea is that this was where all the actors that were working on ABC shows would have their lunch, and it's designed as having a feast on fare with international flair amid the Art Deco setting of this studio-inspired commissary. So have you eaten there, Jason?
I have a couple different times.
And what are your thoughts? Do you want to just go one by one? What are your thoughts?
Just go one by one with the categories. Yep.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the menu here? This one feels like it changes up every now and then, and I think their latest version of it is pretty solid. It has a lot of different types of tacos and Mediterranean salad and stuff like that. It's kind of some more Latin-inspired fare to it as well. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on the menu overall?
I mean, I've always liked the menu here. It's like you can get a little bit of everything. So my wife's a vegetarian. She's always was able to find something tasty and agreeable in this location. Regular kids stuff that you can get out of here. Nothing fancy. I always like the food on here. So I think the menu is good. I'll mean, for a quick service location, I want to put it at 4. I want to say 3 because it's not anything like crazy adventurous, but like there's some legit decent things on this menu that you would see at a pretty good, not even a diner, but like a I don't know, a decent restaurant that you would find like in a
No, I think a
downtown
4
area.
makes sense for this one, especially with the latest update they've had. I think prior to this, I might have only done a 3, but yeah, it's got some.
It's gotten better.
It's gotten better. It's got some different options, but it has. I think everybody can find something there. So.
For some reason, I have in my mind, like from like 2019, that they had like a rack of ribs on this menu or something. I don't know if that's just like my brain like misremembering something.
I don't know. I haven't.
But like I was looking, I was like, do they still have the ribs? But the ribs weren't on the menu the last time.
It's definitely not now. So I don't know. For quality, I think it's okay. Again, it's quick service, that sort of thing. It doesn't blow me away. It's better than average. I don't know if it's just a 3 or a 4, but.
I mean, I think, I mean, in context with that, this is quick service, right? Mm-hmm. So like a 5 in quick service doesn't mean it's a 5 in like a sit down menu,
right? Sure.
Right? So I always thought the quality of the food here was pretty good. I mean, I would have to. I don't want to give it a 3 because it is tasty, but I know what other things I would probably give a 4 to. So I think 3 is fair, just because it's not adventurous food, but it's not bad food either. It's quite good. So maybe I'm being unfair with the 3.
I guess we could. I mean, I think some of the other categories will be a little lower. We could do 4 there. Value, the tacos are $11.50, or the shrimp tacos are $13. Just looking at the menu, California burger is $13 and stuff. I don't know. I think it's an okay value. It's not like, oh my God, this is, you're still going to be spending $60-$70 for your family to eat here. But it's not it's not ripping you off.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting anything absolutely phenomenal here, right? You're not getting something that's like, oh, I can't wait to get this here type of thing. And the prices aren't high. I mean, like $13 for a chicken club sandwich or shrimp tacos is pretty good value. I mean, I think right at 3 is perfect, right? Oh, and by the way, I Googled it. In 2019, barbecue ribs platter was definitely on there.
Okay, well, there you go.
Thanks to the Disney food product for that one.
Find anything on the internet.
Yes.
Theming. I think this is where it probably loses.
It's a cafeteria.
Yeah.
Right. So like there is no, even like they want to tell a story about where this is where people go. It's a 1. There's no theming.
I mean, even if they wanted to do that, they probably could have done better.
Yeah. But I mean, like where was, we were going to do a location. We blended in theming and location, right? So even like location in the park, like it's just not good.
Yeah, it's just like down like an alley type. Yeah,
exactly.
So I don't think it could get much lower than that. And then the vibe, I don't know. It feels like a cafeteria. It feels. I mean, it's got air conditioning about that. But
no, it's a 1. There's zero vibes. It's people getting in and out. I've done mobile ordering here. It's relatively quick, so like it made me happy. I was able to get my food pretty quickly. Yeah. We ate outside the last 2 times that we went here. We ate inside once, and it's like super crowded. So I mean, it's a mess. So low vibes on this one.
Okay. Next one, and I have everything in alphabetical order, just in case people are wondering why things are coming up the way they are. The next one is Backlot Express, which is over kind of more towards where Star Tours is and Indiana Jones and stuff like that. And it's, the idea is that this is where back of house and all the people that work there would go there as well. It says grab your grub with savory, flavorful dishes like the barbecue burger, a Cuban sandwich, and you can get beer and soft drink as well.
So what do we go? We're going to menu first. I mean, the menu is basically, what do we give ABC Commissary a 4? I would give Backlot Express a 3, just because it's basically like cheeseburgers and like barbecue type stuff. It's
pretty basic. It's I mean, I would be tempted almost to a 2. There's really not much unique there.
Not variety. They do have, sometimes they have unique desserts here during Christmas time,
That's
which
true.
we've gone to, but I can't count that. My wife they have a teriyaki tofu bowl for plant-based, and my wife did get that when we were there in 22. She thought it was good, but I'd give this a 2 probably.
Yeah.
On this one,
it's just not enough. That's like, I'm going out of my way for. This is definitely feels like one of the places where you settle for.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I want to go to the point where you settle for this. So the food there is decent, but you get like, where else are you going to get a Cuban sandwich though? Like on property, right? So like, it does have some uniqueness to it, but it's just not. I don't know. I would go other places for like pulled pork or something else type of thing.
Quality. It's okay.
Quality's good. I mean, it's a 3. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great either. So I think on quality, I have to measure these things like, do I find it disgusting or do I find it delicious? And neither. Like it was a sandwich. I ate it and it made me full. I was able to go on. So a 3, I think, is on.
Yeah,
is a
value.
good
I'm
bet.
thinking a 3 as well. It's kind of similar prices to ABC Commissary
Yeah.
that we also gave a 3, and you get good sized portions and stuff like that. But it's
You're
also-
definitely full after
Yeah.
eating some of the things here. So yeah, I'm with there on that one.
And then theming, not
I
much.
kind of like the theming.
you?
I mean, there is a theme here, right?
There
I
is a
have to
theme, yeah.
Acknowledge that
That's
there is
true.
a theme.
I guess it's better than ABC Commissary.
It looks it's more interesting to be around.
Yeah.
Not that it's fantastically interesting. So we gave ABC Commissary a 1. I'd probably give this like a 2.5. But it's definitely not a 3.
Yeah, so I'll go 2.
I'll settle for
I think.
2.
And then for the vibe,
I dig the vibes. It's kind of like in the back, as long as it's not super busy, because this can get busy. If
Yeah.
it's super busy, it's a pain in the butt to navigate, right? Because you got to go downstairs, you got to order your food, you got to bring it up, and sometimes there's too many people around the soda fountains, and it's not a great place to navigate when it's full. But when it's at maybe at most 70% capacity, it's a good vibe because you got places to either stand or sit outside or sit inside in the air conditioning. So vibe wise, if we gave ABC Commissary a 1, I guess I have to upgrade this to like a 2.
yeah,
that's
I can
my
go 2.
minimum.
I'm not going more. I can't go more than that.
No.
I just feel like there
I'm with
wasn't
you on that one.
much to it.
But again, if we gave ABC Commissary a 1 vibe, this one has to be a 2 only because there is a theme.
Yeah.
Right? You're not just looking at like a wall. It's got decorations on it.
So coming up next is Cantalina Eddie's, which is one of the 3 restaurants that are, if you go down the Sunset Boulevard, that are kind of set up as sort of California style outdoor food vendors or something like that. It says cruise over for fresh hot pizza, zesty chicken, Caesar salads, and more. Yeah. That's about all I have to say for Cantalina.
I didn't even know. I mean, I remember people. I thought this was just like snacks and stuff. I didn't realize they served like full meals. I know
they have
exactly where this is.
Yeah, they have meatball subs, pepperoni pizza, Caesar salad. That's really it, though.
I'm going with the 1 on this food. I never
Yeah.
trust pizza or any of this stuff. This does not look appetizing whatsoever. Like the sides, breadsticks. However, there's a lot of seating in this area, so I really like coming over here and just like kind of chilling in shade.
Yep.
Grabbing a beer from somewhere.
Yeah, they do have like decent amount of like at all 3 of these, like if you want to get an adult beverage, whether it's like, ciders or sangrias or things like that. So if you want to get something kind of cold and have a seat, it's okay. But food wise, I wouldn't go to Cantalina Eddie's.
No, I mean it's definitely a good bar vibe if that was a thing, right? Maybe
so
that'll get some points.
Quality for the food, I think it's only a 1 as well.
I mean, I don't want to give bad quality food that I've never eaten, but I'm looking at this and like I see pictures. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely like microwavable pizza.
Yeah.
Frozen pizza. Ugh, no, thank you.
And value, I mean, like you said, a microwavable pizza, and they want $12 for it and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's normal quick service prices, but just like, nah.
I mean, just to think about what you could have gotten at ABC Commissary with the tacos and stuff like that.
Oh,
for
yeah,
about the same
absolutely.
price, so.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Theming, I mean, I kind of like the vibe, like, I don't want to say vibe because that's that, but like kind of the look of this outdoor sort of, like at least there kind of is that theme of them being collective.
I mean, I'll give it a 2.
Yeah.
Backlot Express, kind of like equivalent of it.
Yep.
But if you want to go with the vibe, I dig the vibe. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'll give the vibe a 3 because it's all
Yep.
outdoor seating, picnic tables. They're bigger. Like, you can just kind of chill here, do some people watching.
Yep.
I enjoy it.
Next is Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo, which is obviously the main quick service location inside Galaxy's Edge, where it says hungry travelers can fuel up on galactic grub at this local Black Spire eatery.
Yeah, this menu is probably one of the best menus there. I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair because it's not the biggest menu, but they do have a decent variety, and it's obviously unique. It's not, the ingredients at the end of the day probably aren't anything crazy, but it's certainly creative and done in a different way to make it feel spacey and stuff like that. So it's, this was like the one must have that my oldest daughter wanted the mother-daughter trip and stuff like that. 'Cause she likes the chicken there and stuff. So
the next one's quality, right?
Yep.
I mean, the quality is a 4 too. I mean, like it feels like they're using good ingredients. They aren't like frozen ingredients and stuff like that. I think I've only eaten here. I've eaten here twice.
Okay.
I believe once was like we were like the very last people to order from here one night, and the food was still good. It was still hot and everything else like this. So the quality I think is a 4.
Yep.
On this one.
Value. This one's a little tougher to rate because it is more expensive. It's definitely one of the most expensive quick service locations probably at Walt Disney World.
Yep.
But you do get better food and more creative, and they had like real dishes and stuff like that. Like you get something for
it's
your
a
money.
platter essentially, right?
Yeah.
There's sides and stuff. I mean, you're paying on average $4 to $5 more here. Yeah. See, I don't know how to balance the most expensive with the quality that's so high. I think the value is probably a 3.
I think that's appropriate.
Because you could spend a couple extra bucks somewhere else and have a sit down experience where you have somebody waiting on you, and you can have because this is still, you go up, you order it, you got to go shuffle around and find a seat. And the issue is like when you have all these, it's tough to get to where you're going because you have so many platters that you can't really stick on like a single tray or something else like that. So I think the value goes down because it's, to me, a little bit too close to the lower end of a table service price.
Yep. I think 3 is fair because I think you get decent for your value, but what you get is good, but it is more expensive. Theming, I mean,
it's great. I mean, I have to go with the 4, right? Like you got the doors that go in and out. It's Star Warsy.
It definitely feels Star Warsy. I think a 4 is fair because it obviously has a theme. It's well themed.
Yes. But
it maybe not be the theme we would have picked if we were designing a Star Wars quick service restaurant.
True.
And then vibe, I'm thinking a 3 or a 4. It's kind of cool to be there. It's like seeing there's tons of things to look at and stuff like that. But it can get a little hectic as well.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say the vibe is 4 because I dig it, but I think I have to go 3. Only because it does get cafeteria-like inside and gets loud and stuff like that. So that drags down the vibe because everybody's rushing to eat and stuff like that. Maybe they're cranky because they spent too much money on their lunch type of thing. So maybe it's a 3.
Okay, next location is the Dockside Diner, which is kind of the stall that you go up to at Echo Lake that looks like a boat. So the menu there, they have different hot dogs, macaroni and cheese. It's kind of really it. Potato chips. They do shakes.
See, I mean, I wouldn't even consider this a quick service location, but it is because obviously it serves food. I've never eaten here. So the menu is pretty low. I mean, it's a hot dog stand.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's kind of a hot dog stand. Yeah.
So I don't know. 1 on menu.
Yeah, I think 1 on menu is fine. I mean, yeah, I guess it's a little. At least they have some different options and stuff like that, but it's pretty tiny. And it's another place, though, that does stuff during the holidays. I know we've, even not during the parties and stuff, but they would always have different holiday treats and stuff like that. So for that alone, part of me wants to give it maybe a 2 for the menu, but it's pretty limited with it just being hot dogs and stuff.
Yep, fair enough.
Quality. I'm trying to remember we've gotten a hot dog there. I think we got like just the regular kids hot dog and stuff like that. Otherwise, we've gotten like snacks. Everything's been fine, but it's,
I mean, I like a good Disney hot dog. So, I mean, I have to say, without eating there, I'll have to say 3 because it's probably not bad. It's probably not good because it's just a hot dog.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the same hot dogs from like Casey's, but maybe different sizes, right?
Yeah,
it's like the same quality to that.
Yeah.
It's my only guess. So I'll give it a 3. That would be mine. I know you can pull me in either direction on this.
I think 3 is fine. I mean, I don't want to ding it too bad. It's not like I've had awful experience. it's a little limited and it was fine.
Yep.
Value, you're spending $12-13 for a fancy hot dog, $6 for a shake.
2.
I mean, it's kind of, I think it's a little underwhelmed because you're not getting full platters and stuff like that. I mean, you get chips with it, but
I'm not paying that much money for a hot dog. I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah. Theming, I mean, it's pretty cool how it's right on Echo Lake and it's there. So it's definitely a theme to it. It's kind of designed how like kitschy stuff you'd find in LA and stuff like that would be. So I think the theming's pretty good.
I'm going to give it a 3. I can give the theming a 3 on this one.
Vibe, I don't know if it's got I mean, it's the vibe of the area more than the place. So
it's not really like an indoor thing.
Yeah.
I'm either a 1 or a 2. I don't know how hard I want to go.
Yeah, I'd go a 2 just because I think it's maybe that's tying into the theming, but I think that whole area has a cool vibe and it doesn't feel like a cafeteria and stuff like that. So
I'm not going to argue against that.
All right, I need to bring up the menu for the next one. Fairfax Fair. So this is another one that is along Hollywood Boulevard, kind of like Candelina's Eddie's. Treat yourself to delicious waffle bowls. This is one that had a menu update maybe a little while ago at this point. I think it's fairly recently, but maybe it's close to a year ago at this point. They have waffle bowls filled with savory chicken or pork or brisket and different toppings and stuff like that. So it's a fairly limited menu, but it's definitely an elevation over like Candelina's Eddie, which was like, reheated pizzas and stuff like that.
See, like when I was was this there in? I remember seeing this menu, but I don't know if it was this there when I would have gone last year in 2022, December of 2022.
I don't think it was this menu then.
Because I remember looking at this thing, I really want to try this out.
Yeah.
But we didn't go to Hollywood Studios our last trip. So that kind of, I just remember when this got released, I was like, this is really good. It has 2 plant-based options that my wife could pick from, different bowls. It's got, I really like this. I want to give this, I mean, sight unseen, but seeing the options on here, knowing Disney's thought process, I would give this a 4 for a menu because it's got unique offerings and it doesn't look like it's just like rehashed, like frozen pizza type of thing.
Yeah, I would go 3 or 4. It's a small menu. It's limited. So not everybody maybe would find something they want here. They don't like have a kids menu. It's just these are the things they have. But
I mean, the only thing is like, I mean, it's got Korean barbecue pork belly bowl. I mean, like, how could you go wrong with that? That's absolutely delicious. I mean, if you want to knock it from a 4 down to a 3 because it's limited and it doesn't have a kids menu, I can agree to that.
I guess compared to like Docking Bay 7 or ABC Commissary, those we gave a 4.
Sure. Okay. I'm just saying because they're unique offerings and you have 2 plant-based versus where a lot of other places had 1.
Yeah.
That was my only kind of thinking. But I'll go with a 3.
Quality. I haven't had these yet. I've watched several reviews of them. Some were better than others. So I don't think we can go more than I think a 3 we kind of have to give it, right? Because we haven't had it.
Yeah. I mean, they look really good. I've seen the pictures. I'd eat them. Like it's enticing enough for me to be like, this is probably decent, but I haven't eaten here. So I can't score it.
Value, the bowls are around $14.50 to $15.50 or so. But you are getting a good amount of food, and like you said, it's Korean pork belly and brisket and stuff. It's a lot better than frozen pizza for $12 or whatever. So
I mean, because it's a shade less than Docking Bay, I have to give it a 4 because it's just I think you're getting a lot and it's a unique offering.
Yep. I think I'll compromise. So 3 for the menu, but 4 for the value. Theming. It's kind of the same as Candelina's Eddie's. It's just that outdoor space. So we gave that a 2.
You're all sitting down in the same spot.
I think all those ones we're getting the vibe and the theming is the same as the 2. The next one is Pizza Rizzo, which is the rethemed restaurant. I guess it's not rethemed. It's been that way for a while. Near the Muppets, which is a pizza place location that is themed to the Muppets and specifically to Rizzo the Rat. Because it's rat pizza, and stop by for pizza, meatball sub, antipasta salad.
It's the same picture as Candelina.
It's literally the same photo.
So food is a 1. I'm not eating. I will never eat here.
Yeah, and the quality is not great here either.
No, 1. I don't care what you think about pizza. Don't buy pizza in Florida.
Yeah,
just don't.
And the value, I mean, it's same price for all these things, $12, $13, whatever for these pizzas. No. So it's a 1.
I'm not paying because they're like what 12-inch pizzas or smaller.
That. I mean, they're small. They're like personal size pizzas.
No, that's way too much. Way too much.
That's 1. The theming, I'm torn because it's fun because it's Muppets, and if you go upstairs and stuff, there are some neat little nods, but it also feels like they could have gone much further. If they were going to theme something.
I mean, I'd give it a 3 because it's some decent theming in there, but it's not going to be like you have to go here for it.
Yeah, I'm not going out of my way just for the theming and the vibe. It's a 1 or 2. I mean, it's like a cafeteria.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody like happy in here. Like, so it's like go in and buy crummy pizza.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
Next one is Ronto Roasters, which is the other quick service option in Galaxy's Edge. This one's obviously a little bit more limited. It's kind of more in the marketplace and serves the Ronto wraps. So yeah, sink your teeth into savory grilled sausage and roasted pork wraps in this exotic meat stall. Just trying to bring up the menu now.
I've got the menu up here. I mean, it's to me. I mean, yeah, the menu is super limited because there's only a couple things here. I'd love to give this menu a 5 because I absolutely love this place,
Yeah.
but the menu is limited, so I have to, for the sake of it. I want to give it a 4 just because there's some really interesting plant-based vegetarian options here.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that too because it has a lot of different drinks too, kind of unique drinks. It has allergy friendly stuff, and they have separate breakfast menus that they do all the unique stuff breakfast style too. So I'm good with a 4.
Okay, good.
Quality.
The quality's a
I'll use
5.
Yeah,
on this
I
place.
agree. Everything I've had there has been.
I love.
excellent.
I want to go back here, but the only reason why I don't go back is because I want to try some of the other stuff that I
Yeah.
haven't been to. But like this place is awesome.
Yeah, we usually wind up actually when we eat in Galaxy's Edge, we get some stuff from Docking Bay 7 and some stuff from here and kind of
Gotcha.
share it and stuff like that. Value. So the Ronto wraps are $13 or so. Pork rinds are $7. The zucchini wraps $12.
I mean,
I feel like you get like it's just the wrap. It's just the wrap, it's not a platter and stuff like that, but they're like filling, like they're big,
Like I remember going to this and spending like $14 or whatever it was 2 years ago, in 2022, and I'm like, I want another one of these things. Like I will pay $12 for this, and so I have to give it a 5, only because the stuff that you're getting is maybe $1 or so more than ABC Commissary, but it's vastly superior in taste. And the only people that won't like this is people that don't like spice, because it is a spicy meal. So at least the ones that I've eaten, the Ronto wraps that I've eaten. So yeah, I'm a 5 on value.
Yeah, I'm a little torn between 4 and 5 because it's not like you get a side of chips or anything with it and that sort of thing. But it is good for what it is.
But the taste experience, in my opinion, is superior. I think.
I guess I'd see that more as that's why it has a 5 for quality.
Well, I mean, when you look at value, you look at like the Korean pork belly bowl. It's $2 more expensive, right? Wasn't that $15 or so?
Yep.
The Ronto wrap's $13, so you're shaving off $2 off of that. That's why my value goes up on this one. But you know what? I'll go 4 on value because it is $1 more, I guess. Yep. But I think you're getting what you pay for.
Yep. Theming. I think this place is greatly themed.
You got 5.
You got the droid working the pit and stuff like that. And then the vibe I think is also high too, because you just wander around. It's part of the marketplace and stuff.
Oh, it's definitely a vibe. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it can get crowded and stuff like, especially if you're there like at peak lunchtime or whatever.
Of course.
But that's gonna be anywhere.
Yep. No, I'm 5 almost across the board on this one. This is my go-to place. It's one of my favorite places in the park.
The next one is the last of the 3 places that are down Sunset Boulevard, which is Rosie's All-American Cafe.
I didn't even know this existed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's kind of like around, like if you're looking at the streets a little bit around the side, it's kind of, again, back to the basic things of nuggets and burgers and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's going to be very similar to Catalina Eddie's.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 1 for me on this one. It's just hot dogs and hamburgers, which is not a bad thing, but it's just
when there's other options.
But I mean, you got a plant-based lobster roll. I mean, that's disgusting.
That's probably
plant-based seafood is not great yet. Yeah, they haven't perfected that one.
Yeah, some of them are good. Sometimes when they try to be something else, it doesn't really work out. So 1 for menu. Quality, I don't know.
It's 2.
2. Yeah,
I mean, like you're not throwing up from eating this food. It's just
I think it's definitely better than Cantonese
frozen
Eddie's,
stuff.
like the pizza stuff there. I mean, I think they try a little bit here.
Maybe okay.
Value. Again, you got
it's
$12
expensive. I mean, like there's a foot-long hot dog for $15. No, thank you. I mean, chicken nuggets, an 8-piece chicken breast nugget is $10.99. That's actually pretty good value if you want.
Yeah, some of them aren't too bad. I mean, even that, I have no idea if it's good, but that plant-based lobster, or at least they're trying stuff with hearts of palm, is only $10. So
I'll give
value's
it
probably not too. Yeah,
I say I would give it a 3 because if you're just looking for something simple, these prices are not offensive.
Yep, and then the theming and the vibe I think is the same as the other ones. So
it's the same place.
Yep. The next one is technically, if we want to count this one, it's the Trolley Cart Cafe. It's the Starbucks location that comes up when you filter for quick
It's
service. But...
Starbucks. I don't count Starbucks.
All right,
as a
so we'll
quick
take that
service
one out.
restaurant.
I'm good with taking that out. That's fine. And then we have Woody's Lunchbox, which is another popular location.
Yeah,
in Toy Story Land.
I've never eaten here.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
And I've wanted to every single time, but like Ronto, I'm like, I want a Ronto wrap. I mean, I don't want to risk not getting my Ronto wrap. I mean, for menu, it's awesome. It's got a lot of great stuff. So I mean, menu, I would say it's a 4.
It's at least a 4. I mean, when you have the tots and stuff like that, I mean, it's and the Pop-Tarty things, and it's got just some unique things and pretty expansive too. I mean,
only reason why I'm not giving it a 5 is because I've never been there. Right.
Okay.
So I mean, if you want to put it to a 5, you're not going to get an argument from me because everything on this menu looks absolutely delicious.
Yeah. So I would vote actually a 5 for the menu and a 4 for the quality. I would ding it a little bit on the quality. Everything's good, but there's some things that I've had that haven't been great.
Okay.
So I would ding it a little bit there.
I lean on you for this one.
And then value, I think it's kind of in that 3 or 4 range because it's, it's maybe a tick more. The brisket melts like $13. The grilled cheese is $10, but it's a little bit elevated versus what you get elsewhere. So,
I mean, if we gave 3 to everybody else, these prices are not offensive at all.
Right.
I mean, I would say 4 on value, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and most of the things are pretty decent. Like even the grilled cheese sandwich, I think at least you used to get like a little side of the tomato soup to dip it in and stuff like that. So I think there's a little bit more than the basic things.
I mean, you get a bowl of tomato basil soup for $4. I mean, like you can't even get soup for $4 at like Panera locally.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think a 4 is
4 is fine. Theming, I think theming's great. It really looks like it was made out of like Andy made it out of toys and stuff like that.
I mean, I can't be a 3 because we gave other things
no, it's at least a 4. I just wondering if we go 5 for it.
I want to go 5 because 5 is at Ronto Roasters.
That's the only thing we've given a 5 so far.
So I mean, like if that's the bar, that's below this one.
Yeah,
but not far behind.
And the seating is although they're supposedly building that expanded seating, that's not open yet. So
we'll see.
I don't know if that ding's theming or vibe.
That's the one reason why I've never gone here, and this is probably maybe with a vibe. It always is overcrowded, and there's nowhere to sit, and it's blazing hot. Yeah. So that's probably the reason why I've never been here before.
Yeah. So 2 for the vibe, or
no? I mean, like you're in the middle of Toy Story Land. Toy Story Land vibes are like a 5, right? I love that part of the park, right? You got the roller coaster going around. You've got characters moving all over the place. The vibe is high. The vibe is a 4, I think. But the theming, I don't know how to separate the two for this one, right? Because it's not indoors. The seating needs
I think
help.
The theming's better than the vibe, though. So that's why I was saying 4 for the theming, maybe 3 for the vibe. But if they open up more seating and it's covered and that sort of thing, I think then the vibe could go up. Yeah,
100%.
Okay, so
and we did it.
We did it
with only 7 minutes over the hour for the show, which is
I will just eyeball it. So our top one was Ronto Roasters that actually got 23 out of 25. Then was Woody's Lunchbox, which got 20 out of 25. And then Docking Bay 7 with 18 out of 25. Our lowest was Pizza Rizzo, closely followed by Candelita Eddie's, which I think is not surprising. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see as we finish up this series, kind of like where things stack up and kind of like where are the best parks for quick service and thinking about options across the board, which is the best. Some maybe has better top end stuff. I don't know. We'll have to see as we kind of look.
Yeah, I think for DVC engagement, we're not going to do this until we're done with the on property stuff. And I think we should do something differently than have people fill out their own spreadsheets because we don't want people filling in something for 30 things. They're going to not do it.
I'm sure nobody's eating at all these places.
No.
Anyway,
so I think what we have to do is kind of go over the top line, kind of do you agree, disagree, and stuff like that. Once everything kind of gets ironed out there, we do need to go over and close out our DVC engagement from 2 weeks ago, where we ranked all the Disney Pixar releases from 2000. You did a good job collecting everything, Phil. So thank you very much for that. And you have some top line things that you want.
Yeah, so out there. I shared it around online and stuff like that, where we ranked them all the movies, and I kind of tiered them out. We sort of had Encanto in its own tier at the top, and then after that, Inside Out 2 and Elemental, and kind of going all the way down. to the last category, which I called skippable, which was Onward, Strange World, and Lightyear. We had 3 people brave enough to fill out the entire spreadsheet and that sort of thing. TL Madden, Mama 6, and Lumpy. I thought I would just sort of point out maybe where their views differed from ours. I think one that jumped out to me is they all thought Onward was higher than us. And in fact, TL Madden had it as his second highest rated one.
Craziness.
And Mama 6 had it as her 4th. So I thought that kind of jumped out at me. And even Lumpy was their 7th. So it's higher than ours. Mama 6 also had Lightyear a little bit higher than ours. It was her 7th ranked out of the 11.
Now, I'm curious in my own viewing, if I had known that if I just showed me the movie and I had not known that like it tanked and I had those expectations going into viewing it, I'm curious to see if my score would have been as low.
Yeah, that's an interesting view because I think it does have a bit of a taint around it, but maybe in a vacuum it's not as bad as we remember it.
Who knows? Not worth reviewing in that case, but I'm just curious.
TL Madden and Mama 6 also thought that Wish was a little higher, was 4th and 5th ranked. We had it 7th. Excuse me, not that different.
Fair.
Lumpy had 2 that higher than us. Was Turning Red was his 4th, and Soul was his 3rd. It was our 8th and 6th, respectively.
See, you know what? Like, in my opinion, those were decent movies, but like when you start putting them in context with the other ones, that's what drives them down, I think.
Yeah.
But I can't hate on anybody their opinion when those are. I mean, obviously, there's no wrong answer here. Is what you personally enjoy, but like, I'm not surprised that those are that high because those
that somebody had them for sure.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, one that he had lower that we had higher was Raya and the Last Dragon. That was our 4th highest rating one, and it was his 10th, second to last spot.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me either, right? Yeah. Like. Either Raya, it came out at a bad time for the world, right? In 2021. I mean, you had Chapek, you had the whole Disney Plus thing, and like it was all random. And the way the world was, I think that could really shade how people remember these movies a few years later.
Yep. So I wanted to just acknowledge that people did spend the time with it, and it's interesting seeing different views on some things. Although I think it was almost universal that Strange World was bad. That was everybody's lowest rated movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Strange World, but it had a great premise, but it was just poorly executed.
It just didn't work out.
All right, so this week's DVC engagement. What are your Disney laments? Remember, like 5 hours ago when we talked about this, we wanted to, what are your Disney laments? These are not regrets, right? These are things that maybe you wish you did or whatever looking back, but they're not regrets, right? So we don't want to say regrets. We say laments. And what are some of the things that you wish you have done, but you don't really regret not doing because you're happy with what you did, type of thing. So we don't want to get too negative with these things. So please, no crying as you're typing in things that you might regret. So everybody, thank you very much for watching and listening. Again, this is another hour-long podcast. We will try to get these.
I thought we covered quite a bit in that amount of time.
I'm proud of ourselves. We were pretty good. Yeah. Yes, I'm very proud of ourselves. So anyway, thank you for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Take care, everybody.